Good morning, auditing students. Week of April the 6th, this is what we have to look at. I need you to work through the Keystone Audit Plan 5A. That's doing a balance sheet and an income statement for the current year for Keystone. We'll take a look at that a little bit more in detail. You need to be working on some items in the Blackboard because we have a test on the 20th. So you need to look at the audit evidence PowerPoints. You need to look at the handout on internal control questionnaires, working papers, flowchart symbols, audit procedures. Okay, look through all that. Make sure you've covered that. Some of it will be on the test. I'll give you a little bit more detail when we get to it. Okay, but I'm not going through every item. Let's just take a look at where they are on Blackboard. Let's see, here we go. We've gotten down to risk assessment PowerPoints. We looked at those. Now this internal control was on your last test, so I have it hidden from you, but I do want you to take a look at that questionnaire. That is the way that auditors go through and they check off items that they've covered, so it might be of interest and there might be a question or two on that on the test, but as far as the PowerPoints, that was on last test, so we're not going to go back and hit those again. Audit evidence PowerPoints, you need a good enough quantity to get the quality you want. That's the main point here, and it goes through step by step some of the items you need to look at. You know, statistical analysis and that sort of thing. The more you have, the better the quality, but it's not always feasible to be able to get a big company to be able to sample all their inventory. You have to pick and choose. So take a look at those. Working papers, we've been talking about working papers, so you need to take a look at that. Let's see, I have it pulled up here. Let me just show you what's there, point out a few things. There's some material from the book. Some of you have textbooks of mine. Got to work on getting those back next year, so I'll talk with you a little bit later. Those will come in handy now and when you do your presentation. Okay, I want you specifically to notice this page. Know what tick marks are. Okay, tick marks are symbols that auditors use specifically when they are adding up columns. Okay, they'll put a little check mark. For instance, tick mark is where it says agree to the general ledger. Check mark with an X over it. Okay, that means you've looked at it twice. Okay, so those are kind of some of the items. Footed, if you've footed a column, you put an F. Okay, if it's been examined by someone else, there's an N. So those are just various symbols that are used. You'll see they're used in some of these. This happens to be a journal entry for accounts receivable write-off, where you have a direct write-off, not direct, but you have an allowance account. Okay, so what they're doing is reconciling your accounts receivable here, and this would belong to the auditor. Okay, now down here at the bottom you have a journal entry. Okay, this would be the journal entry that the company made, so they're trying to reconcile the balance for uncollectible accounts here because that's an estimate and it's easy to be manipulated. So look through that, notice the little bubbles and what they say there about it. Okay, flowchart symbols, I used to in the past, and had we had this class in class, you would have had to do a matching on this. I'm not really sure that's going to be feasible because you can too easily match it up with the answer. So what I may do is put a few of them in multiple choice. So take a look at these because these are used in doing flowcharts about how, for example, they give you an example here, how you get cash in. And auditors do this. I went to a conference one time and they gave us little sticky notes and we had to do a flow chart on how to change a tire. Okay, it just works you through the mental process of what's involved. So take a look at that page. And then there's another page, audit procedures from the book. Okay, page 150. Notice where we are, look at some of those. You'll have some of these terms in multiple choice. And then next week we're going to look at this analytical procedures. Okay, so let's go back to the test material here. Where am I? So you're looking at all the way down from internal control questionnaire, audit evidence, working papers, flowcharts, audit procedures. You're on your own. looking through that material as if you were reading the chapter. I'll pick up again with the bank reconciliation at some point, and also we'll look at audit procedures next week. That's going to be your financial statement ratios, okay? Now, let's get back to what we want to do with the audit plan. So, I need to pull up our audit plan. If you go back, it's under Google. Hold on. Okay, I have pulled up the audit plan. Actually, this is your assignment for next week, I believe. No, this is the audit plan. I'm sorry. Audit plan homework. People are messaging me. I'm trying to keep from showing all that, so let me get down. Here it is. 5A. This is under the assignment tab. This is what we have to do for this week. Prepare an income statement and a balance sheet for the year that's showing. I did get to update it. From the unadjusted trial balance, and you need to either do it on a Word document. You would have 2 sheets, an income statement and a balance sheet typed up, or you can do Excel spreadsheet, or you can do type it in the admission link here, or you can do a copy paste. So let's just click on that. It's worth 14 points. Okay, and it's due on Friday at 11:59. So if you want to type it in, do the right submission. I wouldn't advise trying to type it. It's going to take you a while. I mean, type it outside, but I wouldn't advise typing it here. If you're going to submit it on this window, what I would do is to do a copy paste. I would either have it on a Word document and upload that Word document, or I'd do it on Excel. Because if you try to type it in this little blank here, okay, it's going to take you a long time, and if the computer goes out or something happens, you're going to have lost your work, so I wouldn't do it there. Now, let's go to the document itself, and I have my sheet here in front of me, and let me show you. Actually, we need to go back to Blackboard and to the audit plan because I need to show you where this information is. So let's go back to the syllabus and course content. Okay, go all the way down to audit plan. Okay, I've shown the assignments here to finish this out down at the bottom on the front. 5A is due Friday. Okay, 5B will be done in class next week. I'll give you the answers and you'll have to submit those like you've been doing. And then all the ratios for number 12 are due next Friday. Your third test on all of this material, PowerPoints and anything we've talked about, will be on Monday the 20th. Okay. Now, let me show you where to find this information that you need to do 5A, okay? All right, it's not in your audit plan. Come on down here where it says financials and trial balance for the previous year. This is what you need to pull up right here. Financials and trial balance for the previous year. Now, here's the financial statements for the back years, okay, last year. Okay, there's your balance sheet, and here's your income statement. And then after that, you have a trial balance with the numbers that are currently on those statements as well as the ones you need to use. Okay, and they're down here. So flip them or print them out. And I'm going to take you down to my hard copy, but this is what you need right here. So make sure you find that. It's not in your audit plan. It's under a separate tab called Financials for the previous year. Now let's go over here and look at what we have. I've pulled up my hard copy here. And I have the balance sheet, okay, and I have the income statement for last year. Here's the way I would start working on this. And here are your working trial balances. Okay, let me show you what columns you use. Now, the one that starts with cash over here will be your balance sheet numbers. Hope y'all know this. You're going to be using all of your resources. And the ones that have sales will be your income statement numbers. So let's look at the balance sheet first. Okay. Now, where it says prior period, disregard these dates because I've updated them to 2017. Okay, so this is the one for last year. So you need to mark that. Make sure it says prior period. These were the numbers for last year that are currently on the financial statements. The ones you use for this year are the unadjusted trial balance numbers where it says debit credit. Okay, so this year would be the second column, last year is the first column. Now, here's the way I would approach this. Let's look at your balance sheet first. Okay, balance sheet first. Here it is. Okay. Now, if I were you, I would take last year's. This is the way I would do this. And I would write the numbers for this year out to the side of last year's. Okay, that's what I would do. Now, let's make sure you understand how to get these numbers because some of them may be confusing to you. Okay, notice cash, $53,964. Well, if you go back to last year, okay, the first number is $52,764, but if you add in cash in the register, that's going to give you your cash balance. That is, where is it? Right here, okay? So that means that what you need to do for this year is to add these first two numbers, and I didn't add them up, but if you add the first two numbers, put your answer in your little line here. So you have 76,234. Now you add it. I don't know what it is because I don't have my calculator and I can't use my phone. Add those two numbers and that's what you would have for cash. Okay. Now let's look at trade receivables less allowance and see where they got that. Look at the number. It's $8,438,524. Okay. Now notice what's in last year's, $8,534,000. But if you subtract out the allowance here, if you subtract, you're going to get the number 8,438,524. So that means that what you have to do is to take 10,235,457 and you want to subtract the 104 there. Okay? You follow what I'm doing here? So just go through there, and then you want to put that answer down here. So this would be 10, and please do the subtraction. Don't do what I'm doing right now because I'll count off. I just don't have a calculator, but you want to subtract the 104,000 there, okay? So put that in your calculator and get one number. So you get the idea. Once you have it all written out, then come back and just use the same form that they have and type the thing up, okay? That's what you need to do. Now remember that on your balance sheet, your assets have to equal your liabilities plus your owner's equity. Now, I need to help you out with something down here because actually I'm going to wait. But notice when you get retained earnings, that's got to be transferred. That's going to go to your balance sheet. That's going to go to your income statement over here, or from your income statement. I'll show you how we get that. Actually, you do your income statement first and then your balance sheet. But this came from your retained earnings right here. It's going to come from your income statement. Okay, so this number will come from your income statement. Okay. Now, I know that was confusing, so let me back up one more time. Income statement's prepared first. I should have done that instead of starting with the balance sheet. Once you get your income statement done, you'll calculate retained earnings and transfer it here to make it balance out. Okay, so you have to make sure assets equal liabilities plus owner's equity. So, let me erase that. Y'all like my Christmas birds there? Okay, so let's make a notation here that retained earnings is from your income statement. Okay? Now, let's go to the income statement because, like I say, it should have been prepared first. So let's pull that out and let me show you where the numbers come from. find the page, the unadjusted trial balance that starts with the not cash, sales. Okay, so this is going to be your income statement. Okay, these are your numbers for last year. These are your numbers for this year. Okay, and this is your income statement. All right, let's take a look. Notice you have net sales up here. And remember, what I would do is I would pull out my numbers here and put them to the side and then type them up. So net sales, let's see what that involves first of all, and then you want to subtract cost of goods sold. Now, I've already done this, so if you go back and you notice sales here is in parentheses because it's a credit. Okay, so the first four numbers here, if you add those, would be sales for last year. So you have to add all four of those. So the first four numbers here would be sales this year. Now, normally when you have net sales, items that would be subtracted out would be returns and discounts. Okay, returns, allowances, discounts. I don't know that there are any here. Okay, but I do know, because I've already added it, that these first four numbers happen to equal 96,459,566. Notice what cost of goods sold is, 74,122. That's the same number that you have here. Okay, so that's going to mean that this 72,134,566 does not have to be adjusted. Okay, and again, I don't know what sales is, just add those first four numbers. I know it works. Okay, now as you work your way down through here, if you have some expenses that aren't listed, just add them in. Okay, add them in at the bottom would be fine. These aren't in any kind of order other than, well, actually they're in numerical order, largest to smallest. Okay, they're not in alphabetical order, so you can just add them in. Now, let's just get down here to net income. Okay, here's your net income here. When you get to net income, it's the same thing here. Right here is net income, $989. It's called the P&L summary, so they've already summarized it. They don't give you a number here, though. Okay, so you're going to have to make it work. But they do have down here dividends. Where were dividends? I know I saw those. Not deferred taxes. Let's see if it was on the other page. Dividends is somewhere in here. And so what you're going to have to do, I'll tell you how much they are. I think they may be on the other page, and I don't want to flip to it. But there is a number. You need to jot this down, and I think it's on the other page. But dividends were $415,000. We'll go back and check in a minute. So jot that down. Now, do you remember what retained earnings represents? Okay, let's write it down. Retained earnings is equal to accumulated net income. So you add net income minus dividends. So what you have to do when you get down here to your retained earnings, this last number that says retained earnings December 31st will become your beginning retained earnings. Okay, see how they have January the 1st? So on your income statement, this is going to become beginning retained earnings. And the way to adjust it is you're going to have your net income here. Notice net income. You're going to have net income plus beginning retained earnings minus your dividends of $415,000. That's going to give you your ending retained earnings, and that number goes to the balance sheet, okay? So look at that again. You'll have your net income, then you'll take this beginning retained earnings, which was ending retained earnings for December 31st. Where is it? Yeah, this number. Minus your dividends of $415 gives you ending retained earnings, which goes to your balance sheet, and that number will be what you put right there. Okay? So try to get that. Do the best you can on this. Like I say, it's 14 points. That's about 7 for each page. And text, call, email, FaceTime if you want to. I can't promise I'll be dressed, but let me know if you have problems. Let's do Friday. Take care.